Yo, what is up guys? So we're here to check out the new Timelords in action, as well as give you guys some of my thoughts on the deck. Now this is actually my duel. There's a few different duels. A lot of you guys did send in some replays, so I'm using some of your guys' stuff as well, showcasing off some of the interesting ideas that people had. Now this first duel is against someone that has no idea what the heck they're doing against Timelords. Obviously making a first turn Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon is like the bread and butter of any Win-Witch like variant of a deck, but anyways, Medion is really good. In fact, the Timelords are actually pretty strong, and we're going to showcase it off in just a second. He's actually trying to negate my effect to actually return to the deck, which is not something that you want to do, but it doesn't really matter because all the Timelords are immune to being destroyed anyways. And I'm just really here interested in just inflicting damage to my opponent via Sand Ion as well as Mykion. This is the two bread and butter combo cards that you want to be making in the deck. I don't know why he Ghost Ogred me. Maybe he's just trying to get an extra card in the graveyard. But I think that maybe this guy just had no idea how the heck to play against this deck. I mean, all this guy wants to do is make synchro monsters. But this deck, like, sometimes it doesn't matter what you're playing up against. Like, they can't really deal with what you've got because the Timelords are immune to being destroyed by battle, and they cannot be destroyed by card effects, and that's an annoying thing to run into. Actually, I don't even know what this guy had in his extra deck. Alright, it was... okay. I have no idea what he was playing. Alright, so we're just going to be halving my opponent's life points over here. It's a pretty simple like concept, and a lot of these replays that you guys sent in, they were similar. So if I didn't include yours, it wasn't because your replay wasn't really good. It's just that I already had basically the same concept of it. But basically, guys, the Sand Ion is actually one of the best cards in the deck, and actually works quite well with some of the cards that I want to showcase off. Like I said, I have a variety of gameplay here. Sometimes some of these names are messed up on these replays, but shout outs to all you guys who have sent it in. Some good plays. Now, this is a pretty good cheeky little play over here. So I want to showcase off again different versions of the deck, showcasing off what other cards can work quite well in the deck. Interesting enough, people are playing... I've seen some builds with Swift Scarecrow as well as Battle Fader. However, I don't really feel like those are necessary in the deck. I think there's better options. In fact, I think the Blazing Mirror Force is a fantastic card. But anyways, he gets a King of Skull Servants. It's boosted up to quite a good amount of attack. He unfortunately attacks... a lot of people don't know how to play against this deck. And you guys can see he's going to Solemn the Lazion, but Time Maiden's going to bring out another one. And he's going to take no damage, and it's going to burn him. And then on top of that, and this card battles, you shuffle all cards to your opponent's graveyard into the deck, and then every time they draw a card, you get to burn them for another 1,000. That counts during the draw phase, by the way. So this guy, he rage quitted because, well, his Skull Servant not only was going to have no attack, but also he's going to take some burn damage anyways, and he lost his entire graveyard. It's a pretty dirty deck, though, to run into. A lot of different builds. I mean, even Cubics. I don't know for what reason the names aren't changing. Kind of a glitch, but shoutouts to you, Magus, and shoutouts to everyone who sent in some replays. I'm going to try to give you guys the appropriate shoutouts for the right people. But, I mean, Cubics, definitely top tier deck confirmed. No, it doesn't really matter what you're playing against. Most decks will just kind of fold out to, like, this specific lineup. Mound of the Bound Creator is actually a pretty good card in the deck, and this would actually help out the Brandish engine with the Timelords. But Mykion, the Time Lord, whenever they attack, this guy also didn't know what the heck he was doing. He attacked him and then, I don't know, he just was like, whatever, Proxy Dragon. Like, it doesn't really matter that, like, a monster can't be destroyed by it. You're going to very rarely be destroying monsters about it, with the exception of Sand Ion. This is like the one exception over here. So, I wanted to mention Sand Ion can still attack over monsters because he does have stats. Now, there's a lot of cards that make it so you can only get like certain stats on the Time Lords to be special summoned or whatever the case may be, but it's like the one card that's kind of like the odd one out because he actually has attack. So you can actually attack over a monster and you still get the damage the Mound of the Bound Creator does, and then they can target your Time Lords. Now, I had a few different replays. One of them it went on for too long, but I'm going to briefly explain the other trap support because it's kind of interesting. Now, this is a pretty decent duel over here. Like, the guy really that's playing this might have been my duel because it says it was versus Niano. Like I said, for some reason there's a glitch on YGOPRO. Okay, yeah, this is my duel. Like, this guy really did try against my deck. There's a few cards that I wanted to talk about. One of them is Seer's Passbook, because this deck can definitely last 3 turns with like the monsters. That's why I think this card is so good. Keep in mind though, guys, this is not a quick play. I actually did set the card thinking I was going to be able to activate them on my opponent's turn, but that's not actually how it works. So he makes number 41. Number 41 can actually be pretty good in your own Time Lord deck if you can somehow get it out when you already have a Time Lord, and that's because it prevents them from going back. So he's just trying to stall right now to deal with this. Now, yeah, I guess if you make evils, like Niano, he hardcore tried to counter my deck over here, because it does, it definitely does. If you can get out, of course, Ophium makes it so 5 or higher monsters cannot be special summoned. Now, keep in mind though, it doesn't exactly work super well, because that only counts special summon. So this one, if you control no monsters, you can normal summon it without attributing. So therefore, it doesn't really counter it. Theoretically, yeah, with the special summoning mechanic, you could kind of counter the deck, but overall, it's not happening, especially in this duel when I have a superior door. And look at the advantage that I have. So he's going to go ahead and Mirror Force. I'm going to go ahead and Chain and Protect. He activates a Ghost Ogre, and we're going to be able to protect ourselves, and then we summon a Medion. And then we're going to go ahead and make a Gustav Max in main phase 2. He activates Called by the Grave. It doesn't really matter, though. At this point, it's game over. But I just wanted to showcase, like in this example, it was basically showing that you can go for like rank 10s, and also there was a slight misplay. I tried to activate the effect of Dora when Baguska was already on board, and that unfortunately does not work. Reading is harsh. Alright, but anyways, Magus, thanks for this one. Like I said, some of the names might be glitched out, like his name completely disappeared over here. But anyways, this is just up against Blue Eyes. There's a green card, I forgot the exact name. I just kind of remember them by their colors, it's much easier. But what it is a lot of people didn't like this card. I thought the card was okay. I always played at least one of the card, and it's the green guy. And I think it's really good against any Blue Eyes variant. But if you are playing like Blazing Mirror Force, you could run into situations where like you would tie the game. I definitely want to say that as a heads up if you play Blazing Mirror Force. But this is Raphion, that's his name. Like I said, I just remember by the colors, it's an easy way. So as soon as you summon this card, whenever there's a monster, you just get to inflict damage to your opponent equal to 1 attack of the face-up monster your opponent controls that battled this card this turn. So you can just crash into monsters. But I also want to get into how to counter the deck, because a lot of people are saying this is the most broken deck ever. It's okay. I don't think that it is like tier 0, but it's definitely not like a bad deck. It definitely has some potential. Like I said, I want to showcase a few versions of the deck. Well, I think the next one might be the Herald. There was a guy that was playing some Heralds in here, and I thought that was an interesting mix-up as well. So, Astrograph Sorcerer, please get banned soon. I really don't like that card. But anyways, nonetheless, a few other cards that can work quite well in the deck, because you don't even need an extra deck at all. A great addition to the deck would definitely be something like Ghost Reaper, and also it is a dark, so it can work well in the deck. I've seen a few people try Alert of Darkness, and this would technically be another target for your alert target with in addition to Battle Fader. I'm not sure how I feel about that. However, what tends to happen with this deck though, sometimes you'll just summon one monster and you have no other options in the deck. You summon one monster, set maybe some of the support, and then pass. But the thing with that is if your opponent stops this one monster or like negates its effect somehow and just goes in for attack, like he accidentally attacked into it. I don't know why, but people have been doing this against Time Lords. A lot of the replays that you guys sent out, I think it might be just because it's kind of new, but sometimes people just, I mean, even if people read cards, people just don't, they don't care about effects, man. But anyways, this one I believe was Wicked. That's kind of, even if we swap, it's not changing one of the players' names. Okay. Well, like I said, I apologize for the names not showing up properly. But anyways, we have the Time Maiden negated. And then also, what I thought was really good in the deck also is just Kaijus. It's not really like a huge like difference in running Kaijus. But I also want to talk about some of the other cards. Now, here we're seeing some of the trap support. And I want to go over some of the cards in the deck as well. But basically, the trap cards are super broken if you can pull off all of the cards. Now, apparently it was glitched. I had a few people send in some replays of pulling off like the third combo. Like basically, there's like these rings, and like there's one that starts out with 1, then it gets double rings. You guys are seeing the double rings, and then it goes to triple rings. And once you have the triple rings 1 out, it becomes pretty broken. Like I said, I believe the replay was glitched because I actually had one too where I pulled it off, but the third ring is actually pretty insane, but I don't think it's necessary. A lot of these duels, if you're going to be winning with Time Lords, they're pretty fast. You guys can see he's attacking over Barkion, and then on top of that, his opponent takes 2,000 damage because Sandion not only does have 4,000 attack. Now, keep in mind, you won't be taking battle damage when you're battling with Time Lords, but at the end of the battle phase, you get to inflict 2,000 damage to your opponent. Now, again, I think that this deck loses like pretty easy to decks that can OTK as long as they can get the negate like one monster off, or just like get rid of that one monster. Kind of want to talk a little bit about the deck as a whole. Let me go, where's the heck is the Timelords? Wait, what the heck? I hit T and it's not targeting the Timelords. All right, let me go ahead and go to the Timelords. Where the heck is it? Am I blind? I think we just called it. Did we call it broken? I think we called it broken because everyone was saying this deck was broken. But I want to talk about some of the cards that. Let me special summon one fairy. There's a few cards I want to talk about that didn't make it in here, but they're pretty self-explanatory. This was a cool tech card. By the way, isn't that really deck profile? I kind of want to just talk about like the deck in general. So what I found, like this is I guess one of the builds here. One card that I really liked having in the deck was actually Effect Veiler. The reason why I liked Effect Veiler a lot in this deck was originally I was thinking about it. You guys saw the darks, the lights, the black lines, so I was thinking about it honestly with of course the Reaper. But one thing that this deck definitely loses to is like one monster effect that like gets rid of like another monster's effect. So Effect Veiler actually was a pretty decent card. Plus having cards like Torrential Tribute and Blazing Mirror Force, both great cards. I really like Torrential because your monsters are immune to destruction. So basically, Torrential Tribute becomes a Raigeki during your opponent's turn. Really insane card. And a few other cards that I wanted to mention. Seer's Passbook. It's not a quick play, but I think it works really well in the deck simply because you're going to have time to stall. I mean, you're playing the Timelords. Most of them can't be destroyed. Well, actually, in fact, all of them can't be destroyed by battle. And also, they're immune to being destroyed by card effects. So, this card is definitely great for stalling. Going back to my other point, Celestial Transformation was a pretty cool card too because it just lets you special summon a fairy monster and its attack is half, but don't worry, it doesn't really matter because attack is irrelevant. And then it's destroyed during the end phase, but they're immune to destruction effects anyways. So this was a really cool card not only for stall, but like for potential like pushing like double monsters. Like you set one, you wait, and as long as your monster like survives or you can take the damage. If not, this is going to prevent you from getting OTK'd. And then following up the next turn, if you summon like double, it can get pretty dirty. But there's also another card that I wanted to mention here. All of the Time Lord support. Is Time Lord one word? Time Lord. We didn't really showcase off the traps too much. Now, a lot of people aren't playing the traps, and I'm going to explain why. I thought that they were kind of like good too. If you can pull off the third effect, yes, I know it's pretty insane. But anyways, Non-Existence is the first card. The first card is actually pretty cool. What it does is, once per turn you can activate one of these effects. So you can discard a level 10 monster and draw a card. So it's basically draw power of the deck, but it still is one card that lets you cycle through an RNG card. I don't know if I necessarily would consider it like really strong, but it's probably one of the better ones. But then if you control no other cards in your spell and trap zones, you can target a Time Lord in your graveyard, shuffle it into the deck, then you get to set one Endless Emptiness. So that's setting another trap, which again, it's a pretty slow process. And then I know it's like this one goes into that one goes into that one, but still, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a very fast game. But anyways, Endless Emptiness makes it so once per turn you can activate one of these effects. Oh, by the way, all of them have the effects where like the first time this card would be destroyed by opponent's card effect, it's not destroyed. They actually all have that effect. However, what's going to happen is your opponent's just going to be bouncing it if you're trying to like set up the combo. If you guys have played a Spirit deck, you know what I'm talking about when like, dude, good luck getting off this card to get this card to get this card. But anyways, Endless Emptiness is the second, there's the double ring one. So the double ring one makes it so it has either one of these effects where you get to, during the main phase, you special summon a Time Lord monster from your hand. The second effect is you get to target a Time Lord monster in your graveyard, shuffle it, and then you get to set an Infinite Light. So it's getting the next step. But this one actually has an okay effect. I did actually pull it off when I was live streaming. It's just not that big of a deal though. It's just special summon one. It's not like you guys really need to see that. I honestly, if you really want to special summon a card, this card is probably going to be better for two reasons. One, it's harder to stop spells in the game generally, and also this is technically a little bit slower. This can let you play a little bit more aggressive. And then we have lastly Infinite Light, which if you pull off, yeah, you win. But at this point, if you're stalling for like 4 turns basically, because Keep Behind is a trap, you should have won the game in Timelords. It's a very fast deck. But anyways, you activate this card by sending a face of Endless Emptiness and your spell and traps into the graveyard. It can't be destroyed by your opponent's card effect, and then neither player can target Time Lord monsters you control with card effects. and then neither player can return Time Lord monsters. And then once per turn, if you control no monsters, you can special 1 Time Lord monsters with different names, up to 1 each from your hand or deck or graveyard, ignoring their summoning conditions. So basically, this lets you just win the game. Yeah, I know, it's cool. I want to know if there's a way somehow to just activate this trap card, because if you're able to, I know that there's a card that like mimics one trap card in the graveyard, but I don't remember that card's name. If someone can remind me what that card was in the comment section below, we'll try out this in some type of a crazy little combo here, but if you pull this off, you win the game. You just special summon all the Time Lords, and you just basically you get to half them. Well, you'd half them. You would inflict 2,000 points of damage via Sand Ion, another 500 with Camion, and then you could target a card, burn your opponent. Like you pretty much win the game. Insane effect, but like I said, for realisticness, it's not that great. It does have that effect where you get to also protect all your Time Lords, because the only way that you're gonna get rid of them is by targeting them mostly. But then, if you really want that effect, I think Mound of the Bound Creator does a much better job. Like I was mentioning before, if you want to run like Terraforming's Mound of the Bound Creator, I think it's an okay option, just because that's the way the deck loses generally, is, well, you just lose out on your one monster, because that's all you usually have. You're heavily invested in one monster, and your opponent goes, Kaiju, summon this, okay, you just lose. But, I don't think we saw any Torrentials or Blazings in any of the replays that I showed off, but it's self-explanatory. I think these are great additions to the deck, definitely. Also, at one point I was playing 1-for-1, but I don't think it's really needed. But if you guys have any other suggestions for the deck, I would love to hear them down below in the comment section below for anything else. But I felt like we tested this enough on turn. It's kind of a relatively boring deck, to me at least, just because it doesn't have that many options. Obviously, with cards like Exodius, you have options for Exceeds, but it's still a very linear deck. It's summon one monster, attack. If it doesn't go through, well, he might just be losing next turn. That's kind of just how this deck goes. But that is the new Time Lords, guys. Let me know if you think it's broken or not. Everyone was saying it was super broken. I don't really feel like it's broken. I think it is a pretty solid deck. I think what is broken, though, for sure, like, we don't even need to debate that, Mishion or Mykion in tag duels, to be able to do like 8,000 summon, you can't really stop it. That's pretty stupid, but at the end of the day, in an actual game, yeah, halving your opponent's life points is really strong, and it's also immune to everything, but these cards are a little bit too difficult to pull off. But I think the deck is very annoying to run into, and I can see people saying that it's OP in the aspect of, if you don't have an answer and you just half your opponent's life points, and the next turn you're just like, oh, hit you for 2k, it just feels like, well, I can't really do anything. It's immune to being destroyed, and also I can't destroy it by battle. And then to combo it up with like Torrential Tribute, when they finally go for something to get rid of like whatever Time Lord they're going for the OTK, you flip up the Torrential, because I really recommend running Torrential, because everyone is going to try to OTK you in this deck, because I don't want to wait another turn where you summon another monster that's immune to everything. So a lot of people will go all in, and Torrential Tribute definitely is a really good card, because remember, your card can't be destroyed by card effects, so like it's a Regeki on your opponent's turn. But anyways, that's it for the deck profile, or kind of deck profile, I should say, because we went over a few things. I thought we had the Herald variant, but shout out to all you guys that sent in the replays. Like I said, I don't know why it's glitched right now. It's kind of just going over crazy names, because I know some of these games were mine and like the name wasn't popping up. But anyways, that's the new Time Lords, guys. Basically what it comes down to, and I actually made a video going over all their effects, but a lot of them I don't think are that great. I think the most important ones are Sand Ion and Mykion. Those are like the new ones that are really important. Rhyphion is actually okay too, just being able to burn your opponent. I would at least run one of him, but I definitely 3 and 3 of these cards. These cards are like the most important. But anyways, that's it for the discussion and also gameplay of the Time Lords. You guys can let me know what other cool combos you guys can come up with. I just feel like the deck is very linear. I have very little desire to try out the deck again, unless they come out with newer support. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and if you are new, definitely hit that subscribe button for more Yu-Gi-Oh! Gameplay, as well as deck videos and discussions on Yu-Gi-Mon.